Okay, we're going to run through a couple of pairs. There are a few requests. We're going to do the Ethereum dollar, the pound dollar. We're going to have a look at the euro, American dollar, and the dollar CAD. So those are all lined up here. We'll start with the cable. So if we have a look at the cable and you have a good look at this on the monthly chart, I mean, what's the first thing you need to do? Well, first of all, you need to answer the question, what's driving price? And you can see that it's becoming pretty clear. And you can see currently, I mean, price is standing on this, and you can see that price kind of formed this all-time low, and it started to trade nice and efficiently higher. This is nice because this just means that price has got strong, like thick liquid, high liquid. This is like thick liquid movement, so lots of buying and selling going on here, and then price finally cut away here. And so currently we have this area of demand that's driving price. So if we just mark that off quickly, or on the monthly charts, we'll just take that candle to the bottom like so. And this is important because we had this area here which couldn't be breached. I mean, price went down here, so we had support. Price cut through it. We tested the resistance here, support became resistance, and then price came. We tried to sit on this area, and then finally price broke higher like that. And so the area of demand that caused this horizontal market structure failure is this one just here. So this is an interesting place for us to buy, and that's at the 135.30 area. Come on, let me get. Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. And if we look a little bit higher, and you can see that, I mean, prices. You can see that price is approaching kind of this little area here, and this is important because this area of supply here is responsible for, for finishing off the last pause of liquidity down in these pin bars here at the bottom. And so, I mean, that originated from here. So if we just mark that off, we can do so like so. And so this is probably where price is going to slow down, essentially. But you can ask yourself the question, I mean, what about trend lines? And we'll draw those in as well, just so we have those. And so we want to find the two most recent clear swing points. So if we draw here, you can see that we have a high, low, high, low, high, low. Then price is kind of going up. We don't know where it's going to turn around. So if you look at the two most recent swing points, we have this one, we have a high, we have another high, and we have a low. And this, when price left here, it went through here, so our trend line is going to go like this. We don't really, there's nothing clear here. Of course, you can put a trend line like that, and that'd be fine, because on the lower time frames, of course, it's going to be nice and clear. But we're going to do this one here because you can see we're approaching something in here. So if we take like from here to here, go like that, you'll notice that well, you can notice here that we have market structure that has failed. Then you ask yourself the question, what area of supply or demand caused market structure to fail? Well, it was this area of demand that broke this downward sloping trend line. What does that mean? Well, that means that we are in a bearish consolidation. That simply means until we are able to draw an upward sloping trend line, we are still in effectively a downtrend, because this does not mean we're an uptrend, it just means that we're having a breather from this downtrend. I mean, price was respecting this for a little while, and we accumulated just below it, and then we shot north, and that's pretty clear here. So ideally, once price comes back down to this area here, we want to continue buying, depending what happens once price comes up here. But if price does manage to pull back down here before it reaches here, I mean, that would be a pretty interesting place to buy and follow it to opposing supply, which is up here. So we take this information down with us to the smaller time frame. We'll adjust this like that, and you can see that now we're approaching this. You can see that this is pretty messy. Obviously, we have a really big wick here. What does that mean? That means we want to look at the smaller time frames. We'll do that in just a second. Before we do that, we can, on this time frame, what can we do? We can draw trend lines. We'll do that. Oops, wrong thing. I'll try again. We'll go from here to there. If you take the two most recent, we have one here and we have one here, so the trend line is going to go like that. So we'll do that quickly. So from here, and these aren't super clear. You can see they're a little bit, you could question if that's one, but we'll do that just because it's like kind of the most recent. You know what, I'm not going to do that because I don't like that at all. I'm going to take this one and I'm going to attach it to this one. This is because it's clear. This is not so clear. I like that. We have a very clear low, high, low, high. So I like that. So you can see what I'm getting at here, I think, is that, I mean, if price manages to come back down here, it's probably going to overlap nicely with this upward sloping trend line and this area of this monthly area of demand here. You can see that on the pullback, on the release, price has already come back to here. So the 134.50 area is probably the most expensive price you'd want to pay for this pair. So if price comes back down to here, it's going to be seeking liquidity, and the thicker liquidity is going to be down here in the bottom towards the area of this monthly area of demand. And so that's probably where we're going to get a reaction. But we don't know if price is even going to get there. Let's go down to the daily, taking this information downwards on the daily. So we have we have a monthly trend line break. We have a weekly upward trend. What do we have here on the daily chart? Well, on the daily chart, we have kind of something similar. And we'll draw that. So from a low to a high, low. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. And then it went off to the what? To the moon. It's on its way to the moon by the looks of it. You can see that it's kind of going, and we had a kind of a break. And so this looks like the price could be accumulating to move up to this move. We'll just move it up there like that. So it's going to move higher potentially. So let's draw our trend line. We'll take from here to here. That's going to be red because it's our daily chart, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So you can see that, I mean, things are going up for the time being, and you can notice that we have this area here, and price came back to this area here. But what I do like is this, and this is, why do I like this? And that's because that if you do the questions that we talk about, we had this, we had an upward sloping trend line. This area of supply broke it. This area of demand took out this supply, so there's something in here. We'll just go like that. This is gone. What did it? This one, something up here did, and this is no longer there. What area of demand took out that supply? This one here did. And so this is an interesting area to look to buy, the 136-ish area. I like that because this is the one that kind of essentially moved above this high. And this is important because when we don't have volume readings in the FX market, but what we do have is we have information that we can, rather a way to assess the strength of something. And you can see here that this area is respected once, then we start to form these higher lows, and then price accumulated just below it. So it was gnawing away at the liquidity here, kind of spiking up, reacting, white candles accumulating, then it cut through it. So there's a lot of strength here. So the 135.80-ish, 13600 to the 134.40 is a pretty interesting area, I think, to buy. When price comes down there, I'm certainly going to look and see what happens. But what we have to pay attention to is there a good risk reward? We have to look for a opposing supply, and you can see that just here. Let me zoom in. Oops, the wrong button. Let's have a look here. You can see it's just here. You can see we have this is incredible push lower, and so you can see that we have a pretty nice area here. So the area would probably be looking something like that. I can't do that. I'll have to redo the position size because I'll be risking too much, but it's going to be up here. And so this would be a really nice area at which to sell. But before we do anything, we want to mark off the high and ask ourselves a question: is this a parent or is this a child? So you mark off the top, and then you need to answer the question: is this a parent or a child? Which ultimately means that we want to see if we're reacting to something else, because this is going to tell us if it's a fresh area or not. And you can see that, I mean, mean, there's nothing really interesting here. We have this one here. This is interesting because we kind of moved above these highs. If you take the high of it, we're going to take the, come on, we'll take this here. It's kind of almost tested, price went down, and this area was actually the one that took it out. And this accumulation candle is actually the one that kind of went to the bottom of it, and this is where price came to pretty much. And so this area here is one that's interesting to us. And you could take the high of the test of this accumulation candle, because this is kind of where price retraced in order to find liquidity to move lower. So you can move from the high of that or from the low of these candles here and up like so. So this is an interesting area here. And this is kind of reacting to that. So price is probably going to come a little bit deeper. Then again, this is a really nice pattern, so this is certainly worth a shot. What you could do is go to the smaller time frame and just have a look inside that and just see if there's anything going on there. We'll do that really quickly. Here it is. And so you can see that we can actually move it up like that. That's pretty nice. I like that very much. I'm certainly going to try this. I like that. I mean, price, we rallied, accumulated, rallied. We're up there for 1, 2, maybe 3 periods, 4, 5 max, and then price sold off really quickly. So price is going to have a tough time moving through this, especially once it gets up into the wick, which our stop is above and beyond. So I think this is an interesting area here. And also we'll be selling, which is what we need to do in relation to the swaps. So that's nice, very, very nice. So I think that if we kind of recap before we move on to the next pair, we'll just put this on here. Go to the weekly chart and just see that we're approaching a monthly area of supply. We have a daily area nested within it and a 4-hour, so daily as well within that. And price is probably going to come up in here and have a bit of a struggle on its way down. But you can see that price has been trading around here for a while. And so you want to target the upper edge of this area of kind of sideways price movement. If we have a look at it, you can see that, I mean, there's a very, very big wick here. So you want to be looking to sell towards the top. What you could do as well is you could look up here, because this is completely untested and fresh. I mean, price did not come back to this area of supply here. And this is ultimately the cutaway that moved below all of these lows here, all these key lows. And this is just a kind of the gun getting loaded and then it firing. And so we're approaching kind of the loading zone here. And this is, of course, getting closer to kind of the tops of these swings. And so, I mean, you don't really want to like fiddle in the middle. You want to kind of look for these nice areas of supply at the top and these nice areas of demand at the bottom. We're getting pretty close to this major swing here. So you want to be looking to sell at the highs, towards the highs of this area here, as we've looked at previously. So that's what we're looking at there. Let's have a look at the euro, which is an interesting one. And if let's do a clean chart first of all. Delete everything. And look at that. And if you look at that, we have a liquidity void. And where is that liquidity void? What jumps out at us is right here. And so this is thin liquidity, and the thin liquidity goes all the way up here. And so I feel as if price could easily go up to at least the highs of this candle here, because this is where price, we had a retest up to here before the test. This one has pretty much been tested. This one's just above, so it doesn't really matter. So they're virtually the same. Then we have this one here. So price has been kind of cleared out a little bit up to roughly the highs of this. So we have, I mean, you have this huge push lower like this. We have something that's important here. We have this. I got to put the indicator on to help me. That didn't help much. Good. So we have a low, a high, a low, a high, which tells us we are able to define the structure of the market, and that trend line has broken. Well, what area of supply broke it? So where is the muscle in this picture? We have a little bit here because price managed to move below these lows and ultimately consume this area of demand, which was tested once, twice, almost 3 times. On the 4th test, price tore through it. We managed to move below these lows. So here we have a continuation pattern moving away from this parent demand. And it all started from up here. And this is where you can see how price is trading pretty efficiently. You see how price goes up and it comes down to the origin of this move. It goes up, it comes down, it goes up and accumulates, and we have a nice slow release. And so if you look here, I mean, this is the monthly chart, so this might not even happen this year, probably, but we have something that looks like this. And so I'm thinking for the long term, when its price comes up to the 13700 area, well, I think that it's time to sell and hold for an extended period of time. There's also a lot of uncertainty as to the kind of the package that that England gets with euro during these negotiations. So I mean, this is a really nice sell point. And this here we have the child, and here we have the parent. This is a child because it's reacting to another area of supply, in this case supply. And so yeah, so you want to start kind of scaling in, maybe at the lows of this accumulation candle, and continue up as price moves up into here. And it'll probably sit around here for maybe for a couple of months and accumulate or distribute if you're looking at that side of the market, and then move away from there. And then we have this area here, which we might see a reaction at. But okay, let's focus on the here and the now. So we have a low, a high, a low. They're not super clear, but it's I mean, the market is screaming, so we're going to go like this. Just going to move it. Going to do this so it's clearer. And we have this area of demand that kind of moved price above these highs. So we're going to go like this. And if you look at this, when the candle left, how far down did it come? Well, it came back to this area here. So this is telling us that the 119 area is a good price to pay for this, should price come back. So upward trend, we have monthly demand in control. Take this information down. It's the smaller time frame. We do the assessment. You can see we have pretty much the same thing going on. We have a low, high, low, high. Not very clear. So if we wanted to take the clear ones, we could maybe take, for example, like this one here to here. It's not a perfect science. It's kind of an approximation thing. We have that. And yeah, price is very clearly uptrend on the monthly, on the weekly. So if we look here at opposing areas of supply, what do we have? Well, we don't really have anything super strong. We do have this. Daniel is saying, it appears you had an order but moved it higher. I did. So this one just here. Yes, well, I'm not sure where it was before. Maybe it was like down here. I don't know. But I looked at this because, I mean, price moved down here. We had this area of demand here. Come on. Which was tested. Oh, sorry, the 124.50. Yes, that's right. That was down here, somewhere up here. Yeah, that's been tested already, so that's done. We can have a look at that in just a second. But this area of demand here, price came to the highs. Here we had a test, but this area of supply is one that actually took it out. So this is why, that I like. Not that I like it, but that's why this one is now in play, which is where I have an order here. So that's what I'm looking at now. And this is, I mean, the move away here kind of originated from here. We kind of moved sideways here to build up some bearish orders to move price lower from there, and it kind of originated from here. So I think we're probably going to see a reaction from within here. If we go down to the daily chart, and we put in a trend line. Oops. So if we have a look at that, I mean, price came to that, it tested it. Let's have a look to the right. Here it is, and this is simply, it was just the breakaway zone from here. So the the 124.50. So price kind of came up and broke. We had an upward sloping trend line, and this was the most recent kind of area that we could consider. We have kind of swing high, swing low, swing high, and this area kind of broke away, but we had this area just below. This is it here, but you could see that we had this little area just here. And so I kind of talked about this area because this is just the below this kind of small continuation pattern. So if we go over here, you can see, I mean, it went through the continuation pattern, went up to the area that was actually the area that caused the break of the trend line. Let's go back there to have a clearer look. Come on. Here. I mean, this is the one that did it, but we had this continuation pattern. So you want to, this is like the higher risk, and this is the lower risk. So this is kind of the more conservative stance, but sometimes price comes up to the perimeter, to the area of kind of accumulation just prior to the release, and price broke away very quickly. But we did have like a 50, 60 pip move off of this area here. So if you were doing, if you go to, I don't even know if I have data enough to, I can see this on that time frame. Yeah. So if you look at that, if you go like this, if your entry would be, let's say that your entry was like that, the bottom of the accumulation. Let's go to this side here. Yeah, so we had 30 pips stop, and it maybe did maybe a 1-to-1. So yeah, we tested there. There weren't enough sellers there, and it went a little bit deeper, and this is where we're ultimately finding the sellers. And you can see this because, I mean, price went up, it tested it, we came back, there was no real rejection there. So the fact that price, we didn't have any big wicks moving away like we're seeing up here, kind of lead us to believe that this is a less, yeah, this is just like the lower edge of the zone. And this is the kind of the high edge of this area, which was the one that caused the trend line to break. So this is what we're currently contending with now. Will it hold? We don't know. If you look on the higher time frame, I'd say that, I mean, I'd like to see price to come through this, because there's a lot of, you see price has already been as high as this high right here. So I'm expecting it to go up to here before I look to sell. So I'll wait and see. It doesn't manage to feed up into this area. I'd feel really good about selling here, simply because this is like that nice pattern, how price came down, rallied, accumulated for how long? Only 2 periods. We moved down, we accumulated, and then we continued to move lower. So I like this, the 126, 23, 24 area. I think that's a pretty decent area. I'm hoping that price will kind of feed into there, hang out there for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, and then move down. But we want to see some rejection pretty quickly on the smaller time frames. We want to see supply forming above price. Yes, Daniel's saying it appears that we are at a good area at the moment. No large fall off. Yes, well, I think that's a comment to the 4-hour chart that we had a look at. Oops. Come on. Where are we? So the 4-hour chart that we had a wrong one. Yes, so yes, so I mean, it's like a smaller time. We go to the hourly chart, we can see we had a pretty nice, we had a really strong push. You see these big wicks. What does this mean? This means that liquidity is being absorbed. Price is going up and down. Whoa, it's kind of, you know, like if you're in a ring and you get kind of punched on the nose by your contender, it kind of like, whew, kind of makes you kind of dizzy a little bit and stamp around in the ring. That's what's going on here. It went up and it got punched, and it's like, whoa, what's going on? And that's just like the power of liquidity. Like a huge wave just slammed this guy here, and kind of confused. Oh my goodness, he's stumbling around, and then boom, and then he moves, he hits the canvas, and now we're having another go there. But what I don't like is, I mean, price rallies, is accumulating and rallies. I would prefer price to have kind of tested it, kind of gone up, come across, come down, tested it, and then continued lower. This I don't like. I don't like that it's kind of going up and accumulating and then going up. Kind of makes me a little bit nervous and feel like it's going to try and go a little bit higher. I don't know. We'll have to see. But we are at the big figure as well, which is a really big one. 125 is a huge area. So ideally, I'd like the price to go. I'd like it to go higher, but we might manage to go down, and we probably will, especially intraday. And we've kind of already done that intraday. We have this little area here as well. I don't know what it's managed to accomplish. Nothing really. We had this kind of range bound. Again, this is the hourly market. I don't spend a lot of time on this market. I'm going to go to the 4 hour to see. And you can see, yes, here we have a small accumulation candle here, kind of just at the edge. And this is where the move away from this box kind of originated from. It's kind of just at the top or the close of this candle here. It went up, had another one, it tested it, and that's where it found the fuel to move higher. So if price managed to come down to the 12300 area or even better, below this down here, then I think that price will maybe continue moving high. I don't know. It's difficult to say. All we can do is kind of look what the chart is telling us. But what I mean, like I said, if you look at this on the monthly chart, I mean, we have a big price imbalance. This needs rebalancing. Price needs to rebalance, and it always does. It just takes time. This one price came pretty much up to the lows here, and this one it priced left. We moved below. We came pretty much up to the lows. We tested this demand. We didn't quite. We got to the lows. That's fine. And then price broke away. We're reaching the lowest lows still here. We still have these ones here to look at, and then these small micro kind of swings in here. So I think the price will probably eventually rebalance and hopefully move up here, so we get like a decent price to sell and then continue moving lower. But I think certainly in the intraday we could certainly wriggle down from here. We have a really nice rejection here. This is a daily rejection bar, so we're kind of setting up to maybe have a bit of a bounce at this level here and then move lower. I'm hoping that we have a spike higher before we move lower, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's have a look at the Ethereum. And have a look at that. Bob was asking about this. And these are really difficult instruments to analyze. Why? Because there's no historical anything to look at. Well, not at least for my broker. I mean, okay, Ethereum has been around longer than 2016, so my broker's not very special in that regard. But it's nice if you have some historical levels that you can look at, which we don't really have. But what we do have here, if you go to the weekly and down, then you can see that we have these really nice areas. We have this nice area of demand here. On the test, price did not manage to come back. It came back to roughly the highs, then continued to race north. And then we have this one here, which is also an interesting one. Again, this is a weekly chart. And price gapped away from this, and it gapped because, I mean, traditional like blockchain is 24/7, but when you're running it as it's traded as I think it's traded like an ETF, like almost like a commodity, I think, unlike normal MT4. So the market's closed, and because of the huge market movement, I mean, every Monday morning, these cryptocurrencies were gapping either up or down, typically up. And so we have a gap here, have another one there, we have another one there, and this is a week, at the end of the week. So we have, when this week closed, we gapped up. This week closed, we gapped up, had a little gap, and here we consolidated, and we started to see some huge movement. This one we gapped up. So everything's gapping up because, I mean, people can't get on board quick enough. But despite that fact, we still do have supply and demand that we can look at. And I really like down here, because this is like the older prices, these really kind of fair prices at 491. That's a pretty decent price. And from there, price really moved higher. And when we had a test here, so if price manages to come back down here, I'd say definitely have a go at trying to get on. But also we have this, but what I don't like is the price has kind of already been back there. But what we could do is we could have a look in this really big bar here and see if we can find something that we can put a trend line on. And you can see that we can see it's making sense. We have a test. Price comes up, we have an accumulation candle, and then price gaps up. This is the Monday morning. And you can see it kind of tested this area here, so the high of this accumulation candle. If we go to the hourly chart and have a quick look, you can see that we have this pin bar here, and the pin bar is quite a bit lower. We have the low of the current test, so price went up, went like that. We have this fallen below, and now we have this one, which is the close of the gap, which has already happened, and then we have this down here, and you can see there's a big wick, so that means go to the smaller time frames to find out what's going on there, and you can see that we have this. So we've got that. If we can go any smaller. Let's see if my broker's got any data. Okay, yes, here we are. Oh, where are we? This is what I wanted to see. Where'd you go? Okay, this is important to look at because here we can see what? We can see the parent and we can see the child. When you have big wicks like that, the chart's telling you to go and have a look on the smaller time frame. And now we've done that, and now we can identify the parent-child relationship. So we have it, we have the parent, have the child. So trading this one is lower probability than this one, because price will probably come back down to the low of the lowest test, which is here. So I think this is a really interesting area. Put your stop a little bit lower, like so. I think that's a pretty interesting area, but we are on the 5 minutes, so it's 5 minute demand, which doesn't mean a whole lot. But you can see that it's at the base of this weekly pullback. I mean, this trend line was drawn on the weekly chart. So if you put your stop well below the low here, then you know that you are it's a price lower than this weekly pullback prior to this huge burst north. And so your stop is going to be in some very fresh territory, which is a good thing. And we're also pretty close to the kind of psychological $500 for one Ethereum coin or token. So I like that actually quite a lot. Like so. These are pretty difficult to trade because they're kind of all over the place, and someone can say something via tweet, and that can make people kind of sell out of their positions or acquire new positions. So it's kind of all over the place. It's kind of the wild, wild west. But I mean, Ethereum is generally just a buy and a hold a thing, because I mean, the technology behind it is phenomenal, and there are hundreds of coins and tokens and projects that are based on the Ethereum blockchain. And so, I mean, Ethereum's not going anywhere. I think, as a matter of fact, that Ethereum is certainly going to take over first place eventually, and will show probably gains greater than Bitcoin. That's because the underlying technology of Bitcoin is lacking, it's expensive, it's slow. And so I think that a lot of these new and exciting projects are going to move to the ERC20 blockchain, because that's where the action and kind of the really interesting technologies are being built. So anyway, I hope that was interesting, Bob, and useful. Let's have a look at the dollar CAD. The dollar CAD. So what do we have? Well, we have a look here. We want to be buying because of the swaps. That doesn't mean we have to buy. It just means that in positions that it can get a little bit expensive. But you can see I'd like to sell up here, but price is not getting up there. So if we start on the monthly chart, let's have a look. What do we have here? We have, it's funny, when I was at the coach's corner, we called this short like months in advance, and it came straight up to it, to the pip basically, and just bled off, and it's been going down ever since. It's phenomenal how clear these patterns are. Okay, well, let's have a look here. I mean, what's going on trend-wise? Let's have a look. Can we draw a trend line? We can. We have a low, we're high, we have a low, we have a low, high, and prices traded beyond and below this. So we can go from here to here. So we have a monthly downtrend on the dollar, Canadian dollar. Okay, let's look for some supply and demand. If we have a look, we don't have any clear swings, but we're on the monthly chart, so we're allowed to kind of do this. For example, we have price went up, went down, and went up, and went higher. We have a trend line here, and the indicator is kindly telling us where we have a nice area of supply, which we have here, and this is the one responsible for breaking this trend line. So that's nice. So we have a trend line break, qualifying this area of supply as supply, and we are now ultimately in a monthly downtrend, which is good. So if we have a look on the smaller time frames, what do we have? Well, we have actually a few things going on. We have a high, low, high, low. So you could draw a trend line like so. And these were the screenshots that I was being shown on in River on our forum. Oops, oh no, sorry. It does that sometimes if you go like that. And this is broken. And when price left here, we moved above this supply. And this is supply because we managed to move below this low, and we managed to take out this child. So, and this is a child. Why? Because it's reacting to this independently established area of demand, which is not a pretty one. And then we have this. We have demand here, not tested, the 120-200 area. So that'd be an interesting area to see what happens there. So we can watch that. What we do have that we have to be mindful of is the price has already been back down to the 119-ish area, which means the price could easily wriggle through here and go back down here. And so just be careful of that. What you could do is you could wait for price to come in here and look for 4-hour, 1-hour trend line breaks before buying, just for confirmation, if you're into that. But the facts are that we are in a monthly downtrend. We have a weekly, we're having a breather from the weekly downtrend. We're in a bearish consolidation, and we want to see some clear swings moving low, which we don't have just yet. So we're approaching, which is good for a buying case because we don't have a downward trend. We're just having a breather, and now we're approaching this area of weekly demand, which I'm assuming many people are looking to buy at. So take this information downwards again to the smaller time frames, and what do we have? Well, we have, excuse me, we have a lot of mess. There's nothing really clear in here. We did have this. Refresh. Tested once, twice, 3 times. It's gone. What area did it? This one here. So you got that, the 126.55. That consumed this here. Now we're moving down off of that, and kind of moving sideways between this accumulation candle and something here. There's a lot of wicks in here, and the wicks are just they're actually, you can consider the wicks to be, where's the drawer? Wicks that go down, I view them as arrows saying, look here, look here. They're pointing. See, this one is pointing to this area here, saying, look here to sell, not here or here. Look here, find the one that's the lowest one that's closest to the origin of the move. And if you look at the most recent move, I mean, price has gone, you can say it's kind of gone like that, and it's come down from there. And so, I mean, this is a move, and this is also a move here. And so considering this one, I mean, where's the origin of this move? The origin of the move is down here. And this candle right here is showing us where to look closer. And it's right there. And it's at the 121.95. So that might be an interesting place to consider for a trade. And why did I pick that one? Well, that's because we have all these accumulation candles here, all these. Then we have the green one. And the green one is the one that breaks away. So you have to look for the signs, the candle pointing signs after the break, because these are the ones that are pointing to the pools of liquidity that are available to us. And for this one, it starts here and it goes down to here. But if you look in here, you can see that we have a a rally, accumulation, and a rally. So we have a continuation pattern here. So we have price getting close to that. So what we need to do is we actually need to have a look in here. We have our weekly zone, which is super, but ideally we want to find a nested area. So we'll go to the 4-hour chart. We'll see if we can find that. Because as you can see, I mean, buying here, really bad idea. Why? Because price is moving. Let's get the indicator to work. So you can see we have all the green candles moving down. And so, I mean, buying here is not a good idea. It might work, but it's not a good idea. So what we need to do is we need to go over here and have a look. You can see there's a lot going on here. We have rally, test, rally, test, rally, test. We went a little bit deeper to this one. And so the actual, you can see we had a green candle. We had another, a kind of a big bodied candle. Then we had an accumulation, then price moved away. This one closed above this one. The body of this is within the range of the previous. Yes, yes, yes. So we actually, let me zoom in. Okay, so we have, I mean, these two candles are ultimately, we can consider these kind of the base. And this one is not a part of that because the close of this one is above that one. What does that mean? Well, that means is we have to look at the arrow, the point. We don't really have any moves away, but if you go to a smaller time frame, you'll see that we probably do. So we'll do that. And you can see it here. So make sure we're in the right box. Yeah, so we have price came down, we accumulated clearly, we had the move away, and this candle was pointing to the price of 120.78. That means the price will potentially move pretty deeply into this weekly area before it moves around. And so if you want to buy in here and you want to do it towards the bottom of the box, because price has already been back pretty much to the bottom of the box. Every time price goes up and comes down, what's it doing? It's consuming liquidity, and that's liquidity that we need to support our trade. When it's doing that, then there isn't any, or there's less of it. And so that's why when you have a parent and a child, the child is actually doing the damage to the parent. And from parenting, that makes perfect sense because, you know, I'm verbally abused by my children every single day. So, you know, I'm a little bit weaker than before I had children. And so the child is the one that is kind of beating at the liquidity moving lower. And so you want to go for kind of the untested areas, because this is where you're going to find the higher probabilities. Areas. So we have this little one just in here. And if you look below, I mean, what's below it? There's black space. What's black space? That's where price has not been yet. That's really good. We like that very, very much. So this would be an interesting area to watch as price comes lower and kind of moves into this area. And if you go left and have a look, what we have, I really like this. I like the price rallied, accumulated, and then shot up. And on the weekly chart, this looks pretty interesting. Then price kind of messed around, price came down, we came up, we came down. What's this? Parent, child. So what we saw to the right has happened here, and that's a warning sign that you don't want to be buying for a price, I mean, any more expensive than the low of like a pullback like this. And so, I mean, buying for a price any lower, sorry, any more expensive than the 119.20 is just a little bit more risky than buying for a price of where this order is here, because I mean, price has not been back to this area before. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's cool, Daniel. This will all be recorded. You have a super day as well. Thanks so much for taking the time to be here. So I mean, this makes like a sense to buy here. You got the weekly chart. You can have a look, and it looks pretty a little bit clearer here. Right, I think we've kind of covered the material. My wife is knocking on the door and it's lunchtime, so I better get out of here. But I thank you all so much for being here. I think we covered all the pairs that we said we were going to. And so I think we're good to go. But have any questions, please send them in. Cheers. Thanks so much, Elijah and Daniel. You guys have a super duper day. And I'll get the recording out very, very quickly, and we should be good to go. All right, everyone, thanks so much for being here. Have a super day, and I'll see you guys in the River chat room. All right, cheers. Thank you.